Oh, yeah, here we go. Guys, this is a great episode because we have not just any guest, but we actually have our director of publishing here at Big Idea to Bestseller coming on the show today to enlighten you on the truth behind what happens here at Big Idea to Bestseller and the truth about what it means to be a published author. Bianca in the house, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you, thank you. I'm very excited to be here and to gush a little bit about what we're doing and about my favorite topic, which is book publishing. So I'm ready for any and all questions, Jake.
Yeah, so before we dig into the questions, I just want everybody to understand kind of who you are. You know, you're the director of publishing at Bib, which, you know, we've had a great time building some things out. And since you've been part of the team, we've taken our publishing side of the business to absolute new heights. But you are literally a publishing expert. I mean, you have a master's in publishing. Before I knew you, I didn't even know that existed. And now here we are, right? And the coolest thing, though, that I think is really important, and I want to set the stage here, is you have traditional publishing experience, hybrid publishing experience, academic publishing, and self-publishing. Every type of publishing that I think exists in the world, you've had your hand on it in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
So real quick for everybody, for the people that don't know you or haven't worked with us yet, can you just give a super high level overview of what you do at Big Idea to Bestseller?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I've got a degree in book publishing at Portland State University. That was giving me a lot of experience in some agent work, some indie publishing work, and then I was able to do a couple of months work at Simon and Schuster in the UK, which was fantastic. I've got SEO experience, hybrid experience. I'm right now also working with an academic publisher. So, like, I've got fingers in all the pies. And basically, what I do at Bib is I just kind of bring all of that knowledge to you. And so, what I'm responsible for is running the back end process. And this is not something that any of the clients will usually see. And what you don't necessarily think about when you think about the publishing process. You're like, oh, you write the book and then you edit the book and then you design it and then you publish it. Like, yeah, but how do you get from A to B to C to D? And that's what I'm responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
So just making sure that everything is flowing smoothly on the back end, that we're constantly innovating and making process updates to make the client end super smooth and exciting, and also bringing on all of the fantastic freelance and full-time staff that we have here to kind of bring their expertise to the table as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, you want to know if you're interested in publishing a book because they have really helped us build out our processes to create the greatest possible author experience. I mean, we're going to get into some of these things, but I can't speak more highly of V than by having them come on this show and sharing their wisdom with y'all. And so let's start here, okay, V, because you mentioned, right? A lot of people think I'm going to write a book, then it's going to be published, it's going to be on Amazon, and then I'm going to make millions of dollars with the sales.
Yeah.
Can you walk through what the realistic way of getting a book done and kind of how we do it at Bib in a way that makes it easy for people to understand, but also lets people know that there's a real process here that takes time, energy, and investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So the publishing process is pretty straightforward if you're just looking at like a bullet point list by list, right? First, you have to write the book, which is kind of a given. And then you work with an editor or two or three to edit that book and really polish it up and make it nice and shiny. While that's happening, you normally also want to start working with a cover designer. So somebody who's going to design your front cover, your spine, your back cover, for all of the different kind of formats of the book that you're going to publish. So ebook, paperback, if you're doing a hardcover, you want that as well. So those things usually happen pretty simultaneously. And then after both of those are done, you go into formatting or interior layout design, which is where it goes from looking like a Word document to looking like an actual book. And then that's super complicated too, because you have the ebook version, which can be dynamic and fluid and like can move with your screen. And then you have the paperback version or the print version, which is something that actually goes to the printers and gets printed out. So you usually need at least two versions of that. And then you take all of that and you upload it and you set up the distribution channels. BIB takes care of all of that for you. And then you're ready to launch. And then that's a whole process where you manage all of your marketing and your email lists and your graphics and everything to really hype up those sales. There are a whole bunch of really useful launch strategies as well that you glean from years and years of this experience where you're like, oh, I know exactly how to guarantee this is going to be a bestseller in this category, that category. So yeah, it's just a constant process of moving all of the pieces and trying to coordinate and feed off of each other through that funnel. And a lot of people are confused about how long that takes, right? Because a lot of people, especially authors, think like, okay, well, I've written the book. That's the big piece, right? Like I spent so much time working on this book. So I'm done. So it's done now, right? And we can publish it. Like, no, we have to do all the other steps first. And that can take probably about 8 to 12 months is the norm for hybrid publishing, which is where you work with a service like Bib. And that's actually really fast in comparison to traditional publishing. If you work with a traditional publisher, Simon & Schuster, Penguin Random House, any of those, any of their imprints, fast would be 18 to 24 months. And that would be just flying through all of the different steps on their end. So yeah, it is a lot and it does take time, but comparatively to the options that have been available to authors in the past, this is actually super fast and super efficient.
Thank you for that breakdown. You know, when I was first writing my book, I was definitely one of those people that was like, why do I need all these extra things, right? Or like, why do these things take a long time? Now that I have 4, and now that you and Mikey and our team continues to teach me and continues to show us, you know, all these amazing things, like when someone edits your book, right? Like, let's just make it like an obvious statement, but like a statement that needs to be said. When someone edits your book, they're often doing multiple rounds of edits. Secondly, in order to be able to do edits, you have to read every single word of the book. So now imagine, like, we're like, oh, can't editing be done like so fast? And it's like, well, how long does it take you to read a book? And then how long would it take you to actually document everything, make your edits, track your changes, and then send it back for approval, right? That's going to take a little bit of time. And so for me, I'm speaking for myself as an author. That was something that took me a while to really understand, was like, this shit takes time. And we have figured out through your guidance, and we'll talk a little about this, we have figured out how to do this at the fastest possible pace without sacrificing the quality of your book, so that when your book is published and it's on a bookshelf, people will see yours and say, wow, that's a legitimate book. Not, oh, that looks like a shitty amateur self-published book that they made in a couple days. And so, V, I want to talk to you about this. What are some of the ways that you've helped us create a better customer experience and a faster customer experience without sacrifice quality?
Yeah, and you're right on that, Jake. You can go as fast as you want in publishing your own book, right? That's one of the benefits. That always comes at the cost of quality every time. What we have been able to do, though, is thankfully, I have been able to build out the most amazing network of experts in every single different piece of this publishing process. And really, I just want to take a moment and say the unsung heroes of the publishing world are absolutely the freelance creatives who make the wheels turn in the background. And that's not just true for independent authors or for hybrid publishers. All of the big 5 imprints also use contractors to do a lot of the things that they work with. And a lot of the people who have worked with those big 5 are also working with us. And so we have the cream of the crop people who are able to do things very fast, comparatively, within a couple of weeks, and also do things really well. But yeah, there is definitely the big piece here is making sure that we're cutting down all of the trimming the fat between transitions. So we're never going to sacrifice quality in terms of what the freelancer, what the expert needs to do to make your book good. What we're going to do is get as close as possible to moving that from point A to point B, streamlined in that way. And so, yeah, when we talk about optimizing the process, streamlining the process, getting your book done as fast as possible, we're saying everything that we are responsible for, moving your book through the different channels from point A to point B, is as streamlined as possible, making room for the experts to actually do their work well.
Yeah. And one thing that I would say that I thought we had so dialed in, and I would still put what we used to have up against anybody, and I think we'd be really, really effective. But one of the things that we used to, that we did before you came on and really did this was, and again, it got great results, is we were having a process where we were trying to overlap wherever we could, right? So we were trying to make sure that nobody is just sitting idly wasting time or money, because the faster you can get your book out, the faster you could start really monetizing with it and leveraging it for the back end results. But then what we've done recently, at the time of this recording, it's May, and what we've done just in the 5 months of this year alone is we've added so many small improvements that are making not only the quality of the books increase, but we're improving the speed at which we're able to communicate. And so I think it's really, really awesome, because when we were doing cover design, it would be after a certain point. And now you've helped us implement something where a cover design is done before the book's even written, right? And so talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite things that we do a little bit differently than the norm, and some of the ways that we're able to get the customer, get the client, get the author some exposure even before it's out. Like what are some of the ways that we've been able to double dip so we're maximizing time, investment, and energy?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things that we've been able to do here, and this is a relatively recent addition that I think is just going to make the entire process better, is a lot of the, well, first of all, let me back up a little bit here. Traditional publishing does not market your book for you. Very, very little marketing gets done, especially if you're a new author. You might get some kind of announcements, but like, unless you are a big name or a guaranteed moneymaker, a traditional publisher is not going to do very much marketing for you at all. You're very much responsible for all of the marketing yourself, and they don't provide support with that as much. A lot of hybrid publishers, which is in the genre of publishing that we are in, will start marketing around 8 weeks before publication. And so you get about 8 weeks of marketing content leading up to your launch day. And that can be effective. It's definitely a lot more support than you would get traditionally. But what we have started to do is we've started the process of marketing a book immediately. When somebody signs on with us, we acquire them and we send them an announcement to post on their social media that they have been acquired by Reflect Publishing, which is our imprint. And when they have their front cover done, they get another press release to say, hey, look, we have our front cover. This is happening. We're doing it. And so we're constantly supporting the marketing side of things throughout the whole 8-month process, so that you have the ability to like really build that momentum and build that audience from the ground up. So that's one big thing. Another big thing is just we have this payment structure that we work with our freelancers on, which not implements, what's the right word? It facilitates a process where you can stay with your freelance writing coach or ghostwriter for as long as you need to without any pressure. And basically what that does is it allows the freelancer to exercise their autonomy and really get into it with you and feel very much like they own this process with you. And then you also get access to them for as long as you want it. And basically how we're able to do that is we operate with a revenue sharing model with our freelancers who are with us for multiple months at a time, where they just get a percentage of what the author, the client, pays us. And so they get a monthly check every month for as long as they are working with that client. And that does a whole lot for us in terms of allowing us to track and project costs. But it also does a lot for the author because they get that access without the pressure of, okay, well, your 8 weeks are up, you gotta leave. And it does a lot for the freelancer because the freelancer is able to outsource all of the invoicing, hour tracking, all of that stuff, and is just free to create for as long as they want.
And I want to touch base on both of these things, but let's touch base on the last point that you just mentioned. Something that is really interesting and something that is new for a lot of authors. They're always like, and this is, people come to us, they're like, Jake, I've just worked with like one writing coach, but I didn't finish what I needed to finish. or Jake, I just hired a ghostwriter, but they only did half of my book, and then our time ran out, and now they're charging me an arm and a leg more. And this is why we created this way of doing things, because we want to make sure that your book gets done with the people in the team that is best suited for your specific book. So we will make sure that you're paired with someone who's worked on books like yours before. We'll make sure that that person is the person that is the right fit for you. We'll make sure that that person is the one that sees you through these things. And that's something that our internal team does, as well as our contracted team, because we want to make sure that you're getting the best experience from start to finish, and that you don't have 100 million people on your project, because that gets annoying. The communication gets up and all those things. And so we've literally eliminated that by implementing this through our freelancer model and through our internal team model as well. And so the second thing, well, the first thing that you said, but the second thing I'm going to touch base on here is that marketing from the get-go. Okay, I think this is something that I've always wanted to do, right? And we've talked about this. And now we're literally, not only are we helping you write your book, but we're literally giving you press releases on featured articles, on real publications to promote your book before it's even done. And what we're seeing already from the people that are using the graphics we're creating social media graphics for you, creating press releases for you on legitimate publications. And what we're noticing is that the people who are talking about their book, and this has been going on for a while with our clients, is the people who are talking about the book before it's actually launched are the ones that are either making their money back before the book's even out, or they're landing speaking engagements before the book's even out, or they're growing enough awareness to start pitching them onto podcasts. And so our marketing engine is built into creating your book through this process. And I think that's something that we continue to improve. And V's leading the charge on that, which is just so incredible. All right, V, let's talk about this. People have a lot of thoughts about the publishing industry. Okay. People have a lot of, I don't knows what actually happens. And then people have a lot of, well, I think this is what's supposed to happen. Why do you do it this way? So talk to me about some of the biggest publishing myths that you see in the space from the author side of viewpoint.
Oh, these are good. It might get a little technical, so stop me if this is boring, because this is my bread and butter. All right. So one of the biggest, it's not a myth in that it doesn't happen, but it's a myth in terms of the value of it, is the concept of the advance. So a lot of people have heard up until the last 10 to 20 years with the rise of online publishing and self-publishing, that when you sell a book, you get an advance, right? And you get, $10,000 if you're lucky, or, however much. And you get paid up front for your book, and it's great, and people love that. It's a check in the mail, it's great. And that happens, but what they don't realize is that that advance comes out of future royalties. And so what happens is your book, you only get a fraction of the percentage per sale if you go the traditional route. And you don't even get that fraction until they have made up the advance that they paid you up front. And if they never do, if they never make that advance back, you are then in debt with the rest of that advance. So it is a little bit of like a devil's bargain. And okay, it has worked well for people, but
I need to ask on this though. Okay. So I was just talking to a friend, and they were traditionally published. And one of the things that they said everything that you're saying, and they said, here's one of the other things that you don't know, is that you're going to have to pay for a lot of things during that process, which oftentimes wipes out the advance, depending on how big it is, right? And some people get larger advances than others, and that's amazing. But that advance isn't just cash. That's paying you to write the book, and it's also what money you have to use to put into other aspects of the process. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you see people like ending up spending, have you seen people spend their entire advance only to never make any more money on the book and actually be at a net gain, a net loss?
Yeah, so you can get paid prior to the full book being written, and that happens a lot with nonfiction. With fiction, you write it and then you get the advance. But yeah, for things, again, we talked a little bit about what they do and don't do for marketing. if you want to go on a book tour, which a lot of the time it's in the contract that you will go on a book tour to promote your book, you're paying for that, right? So like you're like, okay, 10 city book tour, that's great. You're paying the airfare, you're paying for your rooms, you're paying for the venues and the books that you need to bring to those venues. Like it's a big expense to take that on yourself. And a lot of the time it is contractual. And yeah, that comes right out of whatever it is that you got at the
Wow.
start.
Yeah. Eh, Let's go to another myth. I got so many more questions for you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
let's go to another myth, or thing that people think one way about the industry when it's not actual the real reality.
Yeah. Here's one that's going to ruffle some feathers. Bestsellers are not chosen on merit, at least not merit alone. That's not to knock the quality of the books that are on things like the New York Times bestseller list. But there are very many ways to game that system. And if you have money, you can game that system. For a really good example from the 2016 election, I believe, Ted Cruz got his book on the New York Times bestseller list, and it turned out to be a massive scam. He had hired different people to buy in bulk and just warehouse, and those sales counted towards his rise on the charts. And so
Mm.
he was basically buying books for himself to then give out on book tours. And he got New York Times bestseller status as a result. So don't necessarily like if you can get on a New York bestseller list, like that's great. Do it, like go for it. It does come with actual credibility, but don't make it the end all be all, and don't assume that just because the book is on there that it deserves to be.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And another thing too that I would say is like if I'm not mistaken, the Wall Street Journal bestseller list no longer exists.
Yeah, it does
And
not.
that was something that you could do, and it's great. And all of these things are all great credibility factors. They can all really be beneficial to you and be something that produces an incredible opportunity for you once you achieve that. But those things are not the determining factor of whether or not you will succeed or make money from your book.
Exactly.
And that's the
Exactly.
thing that I think is most important is, yeah, we all want those things, right? Most people, I dream of this, I dream of that. I hear that all the time. Okay, but do you dream of that because you have it's for your ego, or do you dream of that because you think that's going to be the thing that drives revenue? And
Exactly.
that's the important question when it gets down to it. And you said it'll ruffle some feathers, so I figure let's ruffle some more, right? But that's a really interesting topic. And also, I'll even touch base on Amazon bestseller status for a second, because I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because we hear people all the time saying, "Oh, Amazon bestseller is so easy to get," and I'll be honest, it is easier than being a New York Times bestseller. However, if it was that easy, every author would be a best-selling author, and they're not.
Yeah.
Or they're saying they are when in reality they're not. And here's one of the things that I see
Mhm.
is with the Amazon bestseller, a lot of people think of it very similar to New York Times. Oh, I'm in the top 10 of my respective category. I made the list. Well, with Amazon, there's no list. You are either number one best-selling book in your category, or you are not a bestseller. And so that is a really interesting component to enlighten people with, because I think it's really important to know that, oh, you could be a number one new release. That's amazing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the best-selling book in the category. And so
Mhm.
it's important. And yes, at Big Idea to Bestseller, we understand there's a game. We understand the game. We understand how it's played. And 100% of our authors in our Elevate and Excel programs have hit Amazon bestseller status. But they're doing it in a way that sets them up for long-term success, not just for a 5 minutes of fame. And that's the
Right.
thing that is really, really important. I'd love to hear your thoughts or commentary if there's anything else to add there.
Yeah, I think that's the focus here needs to be one of the things that I dislike about my experience in publishing thus far has been the elitism of it, and the fact that there are these gatekeepers that are kind of built in, and there's this assumption about the quality of a thing being equated to the morality of a thing. And people put a lot of pressure on themselves
Mhm.
to reach this very subjective standard of what good is and what worth it is. And I really like my whole goal in doing this work in helping smaller and growing publishers is to say, hey, like let's set up our own definition of success and stop relying on stuff that really frankly needs to be updated as of the 90s. Like we are in the moment. We are doing a new thing. We are blazing a new trail, and we need to be able to set expectations that are going to align with our ultimate goals and not hold us back in the same way that a lot of the more traditional and long-standing publishers maybe do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like that freaking fires me up. That's a hell of a point. I think it's so interesting because I think you said defining your own success. Okay. And this is something that has been a driving force for every business decision I've ever made is not what is the game someone else is playing, but it's what is the game I want to play within the confines of the space, right? Because my life is different than your life. My life is different than every other person that's listening at. I want to make a different amount of money. I want to live a different type of life. I want to spend my time differently, and that's okay. And I think that's one of the places that we start every one of our authors is how are you going to define this book's success? What is your intention behind writing this book? Because if you want bestseller success, we'll show you exactly what you got to do. But if you want to use this book to craft a keynote that then allows you to charge $10, $15, $20,000 for a keynote, we're going to show you that. I mean, one of our clients, you heard him at the live event. He came and he's like, Jake, I wrote my book and I've been doing this for 25 years. Well, as soon as I wrote my book, people finally said, oh, that's what you do? And then right after that, he charged $8,000 for a keynote and got booked right on the spot. Yeah. That is a lot of book sales if you were to just focus on book sales. And I think that that's like a really cool thing. And I love the way you said that because we are blazing the trail. We are changing the way publishing is happening. And the most important thing that I think your expertise has helped Big Idea to Bestseller reach is that we're making book writing and the book process accessible to everybody. There's no more gatekeeping, right? We operate on a monthly model. You pay as you go, right? We're making book writing accessible for the everyday author, and we're making book writing the opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream while also generating revenue.
Yeah, absolutely, Jake.
So is there any other myths that you feel like you want to share here? Because these have gotten spicy. So is there anything else that you can think of that is worth our time right now, or I can go into our final portion of today?
Oh man, so many. Let me get back to you on those. I think we may have a series coming out soon that might go into these a little more deeply.
There we go. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Right as we say, we're no more gatekeepers. We're going to gatekeep a few of these from you guys. No, but
just temporarily, just for a little bit.
No, but all jokes aside, I think that's something that's really cool that we've been able to do is, and is a testament to you and our team and everything, is that we've been able to take the experience of you and Mikey and the rest of our team and find our favorite things about this industry, our least favorite things about this industry, and we've been able to curate a path that is unique for every author. And I think that is something that's so special. We've been able to shorten the experience by up to a year on some projects, if not more. We've been able to, because of the stuff that you've helped us implement, our team is able to market people's books before the book's even done. And so we've been able to create an experience that is not only possible for people, but it's possible to do it effectively, efficiently, and done well. So if anybody that's out there that's either been thinking about writing a book or that has a book, like, is there anything that you would tell them that comes from the publishing back end that would maybe help them have a better experience or help them make the right decision when they're looking at, do I hire Bib or do I hire somebody else? Do I do it on my own or do I work with Bib? Like, is there anything that you would tell them from your expertise that could help them have the best book writing experience?
Yeah. So, couple things. A, strap in because it's going to be fun and ridiculous and bumpy sometimes, but ultimately, oh my God, so worth it. Also, if you are thinking about working with bib or a hybrid publisher to help you write your book, and you're looking at the cost and you're saying, well, could I just do this myself? Yes, you could. You could. Um, you could figure it out. Jake, you figured it out with your books. Like, you did not have Bib to help you. That said, Jake, I'm going to pass this one back to you. Would you have liked Bib when you were trying to figure out how to publish your first book?
Yeah, I probably would. I probably would have saved several hundred hours, and I would have had a better product. Like, look, I'm all about
That's the
getting
thing.
that thing
Yeah.
done, but I would have saved a lot of time. I would have more intentionally spent money in a way that got me a better results. I wouldn't have had to learn everything. I would have been able to rely on the team. So long answer short, yes, Bib would have greatly
Yeah.
helped.
None of the, like, if you were to try and do all of it yourself, you could. Like I said, every single piece of that puzzle would cost you more than it would to just do it with Bib. And that's unique to Bib as well. And I want to stress this. And maybe this is because I have favorites, okay? But I have worked for other hybrid publishers. I know what the price points are in this industry. There are people who talk a big game about not gatekeeping and then charge $150,000 to write your book for you. That's still gatekeeping. It's just a different type. If you want that same quality of experience and actually be able to afford it, this is the answer for you. Honestly, we are able to do the same quality of work at the same timeline with a lot of the same people for a fraction of what it would cost to do it with someone else or to do it yourself, because every single freelancer that you would want to work with has their own payment setup, their own process. And the thing that we've really been focusing on is finding a way to compensate them while also getting you the best price possible. So we are
Yeah.
always thinking not only about how to do this fast for you, but how to do this in a way that actually makes it worth your time and money.
Well, Anna, and I'll piggyback off that too. You know, we know ghostwriters, and we've worked with clients who will have spent 50 to 70 to $100,000 just on the ghostwriter to write their book. And
Yes.
some of these ghostwriters are worth every single penny. I'm not going to say that they're not. However, when you work with us at Big Idea to Bestseller, just to put it in perspective, just because we want you to understand what the options are for you. You can find one of the greatest ghostwriters, and they can charge you 50 to 100 grand, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. We're able to get you an entire service of a ghostwritten book for about $50 to $60,000, including marketing and some other stuff. We've been able to create these relationships to be able to allow book writing to be accessible to the people who need it most, so that you can monetize on the back end, feel really great, leave a lasting legacy, and elevate your brand in the process. So V, I know I added some on there. Is there anything else before we get people connected with you and give them the goods?
No, I think that wrapped it up real nice.
Beautiful. So V, how do we, I think people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more about your background. Maybe they're a contractor, a freelancer, a specialty expert. Maybe there's someone looking into working with us. How do they get in touch with you, and where can we learn more about you?
Yeah. Honestly, for this type of thing, LinkedIn is the best place. I'm on there pretty regularly, so feel free to hit me up with a DM. It's just Bianca at LinkedIn. And then, yeah, I will be sure to reach out to you if you have questions or if there's anything you'd like to talk more about, especially if it relates to wanting to get started on publishing your own book.
I love it. I love it. V, thanks for coming on the show, sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us. I know personally, like, I learn from you every time we talk. I think it's one of those great things. And this is I'll leave everybody with this. This is part of growing a business, is when you get to a point where you can hire people that are just smarter and better than you in their expertise. You're figuring out how to create a better experience for the clients. And there is no doubt that you are more knowledgeable, more of an expert, and someone who is incredibly, incredibly talented, that brings the level of what we're able to do to a whole new arena. And so thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for helping our clients get the greatest results possible. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Jake. Thanks.
All right. And for everybody that just listen to this. Okay. This was the first time we brought on a team member to the show. All right. And I really wanted to bring V on for you because I wanted you to understand what the truth is about this whole industry. Okay. And there's so many amazing people in this industry, just like any industry. And there's some terrible people in this industry, just like every other industry. But what we want to do is we want to make book writing accessible to you. We want to show you how we operate, what we do, so that you know when you're investing your hard-earned money into the right place, into the right company, into the right experience, that you know 100% without a doubt that we're going to take care of you. We're going to get you a high-quality book. We're going to do it quickly, effectively, but most importantly, we're going to do it in a way that helps you achieve whatever the goals are, because you keep 100% ownership, 100% of the IP, 100% of the content, 100% of the rights, 100% of the royalties. You get to keep all that. And so my challenge to you is to identify, what do you want to actually have as a result from writing a book? And then reach out to us if you have any questions. That is my challenge to you. We want to give you the honest truth. We want to help you make the best decision. And that, my friends, that is a wrap for today. I'll see you on the next one.